Hello everyone, here we will see the notes of the Tollund Man. If you did not subscribe my channel, please subscribe for more videos. The Tollund Man is Irish poet Seamus Heaney's reflection on human nature, religion and history of violence. Imagine a visit to the Tollund Man, an Iron Age human sacrifices preserved in the peat dog. The poem's speaker observed that more than 2400 years later, people are still dying terrible deaths in the name of their forwent beliefs. In particular, the Tollund man's fate makes the speaker think of the troubles, a long and bloody 20th century conflict between Irish Catholics and Protestants. The poem first appeared in Heaney's 1972 collection, Wintering Out. Seamus Heaney was born in April 1939, the eldest member of a family which would eventually contain nine children. His father owned and worked a small farm of some 50 acres in County Derry in Northern Ireland. But the father's real commitment was to cattle dealing. There was something very congenious to Patrick Heaney about the cattle dealer's way of the life to which he was introduced by the uncles who had come cared for him after the early deaths of his own parents. The poet's mother came from a family called McCann, whose connections were more with the modern world than with the traditional rural economy. Work. Seamus Heaney's poetry is often down to earth. For Heaney, poetry was like the earth, something that must be plowed and turned. Often he paints the grey and damp Irish landscape. Poet Moss has a special place in his poetry. The poems often are connected with daily exercises, but they are also derive motives from history all the way back to prehistoric times. Heaney's profound interest in the Catholic and pre-Christian as well as in Catholic literary tradition has found expression in a number of essays and translations. In 1996, subsequent to his winning the Nobel Prize in Literature 1995. The Tollund Man. One day the speaker would like to go to Denmark to visit the Tollund Man, a mummified Iron Age man who was sacrificed to ancient gods. The speaker imagines admiring the Tollund Man's head, his gentle, speed-shaped eyelids, and his pointy leather cap near the spot where the Tollund Man was found with his lost meal of porridge still preserved in his belly and no clothes on except for his hat, a belt and a nose he was strangled with. The speaker imagines standing and thinking for a long time. The Tollund Man, the speaker imagines, was a man sacrificed to a pagan goddess. The goddess tightened the necklace of the noose around the Tollund Man's neck and welcomed him into the dark dog. The dog's water preserved the Tollund Man as if he were an incorruptible Catholic saint. He was preserved until people cutting peat discovered him like a treasure in their maze like diggings. Now he rests safely in a museum in the town of Arras. Thinking of the Tollund Man, the speaker feels on the verge of doing something sacrilegious, blessing the dog as if it were a church and praying to the Tollund Man as if he were a saint. The speaker would ask the Tollund Man to restrict all the people who have died in the Irish troubles, bringing murdered farm workers back to life. The speaker would ask the Tollund Man to reconstruct all the shredded bodies of four brothers. Tollund Man's execution. The speaker imagines driving down Danish roads, feeling about the same way that the Tollund Man died on his way to his execution, sad and strangely free. The speaker would say the name of Danish town about and get confused directions from the logs, whose language and speaker doesn't understand. Out in the Jutland area, where people used to make blood sacrifices, the speaker imagines feeling lost and sad, but also as if a familiar territory. Imagine a visit to the mummified corpse of the Tollund Man, a famous Iron Age body that was found almost perfectly preserved in the peat dog. The poem speaker reflects on humanity legacy on violence, knowing that the Tollund man was likely killed as a religious sacrifice. The speaker is reminded of all the people who have died in the troubles, a long running and bloody war between Ireland's Protestant and Catholic factions. Religious violence, the poem suggests, is nothing new. It's an enduring human tragedy. The preserved Tollund man, the speaker notes, is a record of an ancient religious killing. He was sacrificed to the goddess thousands of years ago, but his well preserved face, with its mild, gentle expression, he also a reminder that he was one of the real live human being, not just a mythic figure from a dark past. In fact, the Tolan man's predicament feels early familiar and contemporary, remaining the speaker of the troubles. Remembering not so distant in indicating incidents in which Irish people of different religious background slaughtered each other in their own homes or dragged each other in their deaths for miles along the lines of railways, the speaker observes that violence is no way a relic history. The speaker even imagines himself in the Tolan man's place, just one more person in a world in which people kill each other in God's or the God's name. Visitory, the Tolan man, the speaker imagines, would thus leave him feeling unhappy and at home. The old corpse testimony that religious belief can drive ordinary people to violence will feel all too familiar to him. But he imagines the Tolan man is inspired by the sealed body of a prehistoric man discovered in a dog in Denmark. It is said that the man was put to death as part of sacrificial rite. In past, it was believed that by doing so, fertility of the corpse could be improved. The poem apparently is about customs and rules which were being followed in the Iron Age, but critical analysis of the Tolan man transpires that it symbolizes the history of Ireland. Seamus heaney illustrate that it is routine matter for Irish to undergo oppression in Northern Ireland, and it is habitual for them to sacrifice their lives so as to save the lives to other fellow men. In start of the poem, the poet gives detailed description of Tolan man's body and wishes to visit Ireland. In start of the poem, the poet gives detailed description of Tolan man's body and wishes to visit a Ahern, so he can see it. Someday I will go to Arhas. Seamus heaney hopes to visit Arhas, the temple of the Tolan man, because he has developed a deep sense of religious devotion. Poet is hopeful that he would visit the temple yet from the tense atmosphere to seems that he is depressed. He also gives multiple detail of every part of the body. Peat brown head, mild pods of his eyelid, and pointed skin cap. Beside imagery has skillful been crafted by the poet. Bride man to the goddess can be referred to this context. It also symbolic. It indicates sacrificing lives for northern. Opened her fan, dark juices fight frightened her door symbolizes as bizarre type of sexual amalgamation. Henny's imagination is vivid in this regard. In the upcoming lines, Henny compares Tolan man with the saint as his body in the corrupt. The Tolan man successfully accepted the death with the hope that it would be beneficial for his fellow men. He died while expecting that corpse would grow and his death would be fruitful for the people of his society. After doing critical analysis of the poem, Crisis finds similarity in the Tolan man and Irishman. Tolan man sacrificed the life for his people. He wanted to save them from hunger. He died for them so that no one could die for starvation. Irishmen are also doing the same. They are sacrificing their lives for their fellow men. True, they are not doing it to avoid starvation. The Tolan man also symbolizes devoutness. Tone of the poet indicates the helplessness of a man in front of the gods in order to gain favors of God's people are impelled to perform these kind of rituals. The Tolan man may be a martyr for many people, but Henny's point of view, a different form of mob. According to him, he is neither a hero nor a martyr, but just a victim. It was believed that each winter the goddess wanted sacrifice of new bridegrooms to certify the fertility of the corpse in the next spring season. The poet is against such principles. He likes peace, but not which comes subject to sacrificing innocent human being in front of God. In other words, he is against violence. He compares the old man killing perished of Jutland with his own land through death incident of Tollund Man belongs to the Iron Age. It symbolizes the event who Christ was crucified. He died for the welfare of humanity as the Tollund Man did. It further symbolizes the struggle of Irish people who lost their lives for the future and welfare for their children. The sacrifices of Irishman are still fresh in the mind of Seamus Heaney, as he was Irish, not British. He once wrote, "Be advised, my passport's green, no glass of ours was ever raised to toast the Queen." Somehow there is a strong bond between Heaney and the Tollund Man, where poet shares griefs and sorrows of Irish widows and children. Symbolism. The poet shares griefs and sorrows of widows and children of Irish, and he tries to explain it through this poem by using the technique of symbolism. Second part. I could risk blasphemy. Second section of the poem suggests fear in the mind of poet. He fears that he has committed blasphemy as he does not find these violent rituals fruitful. It is again a preference for his own people. Seamus Heaney has been slaughter of Irish people who were killed ruthlessly in the Civil War. They may be called freedom fighters, but first they were laborers and people. They were innocent who neither wanted any kinship nor were they devoted to wealth but a free life. In this part, we find a kind of university in the work of Seamus Heaney. We know that the dogmen were different from Irish people by their religion, language, and race. Yet humanity is mother of every religion, and it must be preferred on the races and nations. Heaney likes East show his close association with those who were killed in the war. He blubs for his fellow citizens. Last section of the poem is about isolation of the poet. His tone is no more expectant. He has no willpower to move further. The poem shares following common themes. Third part. The poet has no willpower here to move further. The poem shares following common themes: death, religion, culture, rituals, myth, customs, powerlessness, violence, isolation, despair. The poem ends with the statement, I will feel lost, unhappy at home. Conclusion. Heaney was a universal poet. He defended poetry because he has a pure poet, though he did not never do poetry for the sake of poetry. He claims that poetry should be free from politics, but in Tollund Man, he cannot keep himself away from it. He, by using a technique of symbolism, retarded history of Irishmen too. In the redness of poetry, he recommends that along with the politics, poetry should be free from social issues. But ironically, in this poem, he underestimates his own rules. Poem consists of extended themes of childhood. It reads the history of Northern Ireland. It is not only a history of Tollund Man, but also civil unrest between Catholics and Protestant. If you like my video, please subscribe for more videos. Thank you.